What's up, guys? We got the brand new INMOTION in the house. Andrew, what's in the box?
We have the V12S where style meets comfort.
Let's check it out.
This thing is pretty cool. Look at this thing, it's from the future.
Let's talk about specs. What is this wheel all about?
And this goes up to 43.5 miles per hour, UL certified, so the second EUC to be UL certified, IPX6 water resistance rating, and has the coolest display that we've ever seen on an electric unicycle.
The whole unboxing experience was what you expect from INMOTION. They always do a really good job organizing, packaging. It wasn't a box within a box. It's just one single box. Really easy. You pull out the plastic tabs, you lift the box up, and then the wheel is there in all its glory. There's nothing that you need to assemble. You just connect it to the app, take it out of transport mode, and it is ready to go. We put air in the tires, it's got suspension, and we'll do a walkthrough. Let's go through this wheel from top to bottom.
Starting out with that beautiful display I was speaking about, it shows you all sorts of stuff from the speed, the average speed. You can lock it out, turn on the lights, go into the settings. This is by far the easiest navigation through a menu that we've ever seen on an electric unicycle, and the best touchscreen. So INMOTION used to put touchscreens on a lot of their EUCs. They worked all right. They just sometimes were a little bit finicky and tiny. This is nice and large, 4.3 inches, and very easy to navigate through, where we haven't had any issues with the touch sensitivity.
One thing you will notice on this is there are hardly any buttons. Just like on some of these new electric cars where they've taken away all the buttons and everything's run on a touch display. This is what's going on here. It's to the point where when I initially unboxed it, I could not find the power button.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure it out. It's right here. And that is the only exterior button on the EUC besides the kill switch that's below the handle. But to turn it on, you just press on it. And one nice thing about this wheel that INMOTION is starting to switch to is where you don't have to hold it up to turn it on. It's kind of annoying in the past where you had to have the wheel sitting vertically before you could power on the wheels, but now you can power it on, tilt it down, tilt it up, either way it's perfectly fine. We do have one side without pads and one side with pads. We're trying to get confirmation from INMOTION if they're going to be sending pre-cut Velcro and pads with their wheel. Honestly, we just found out the specs today. This has been a real mystery for a lot of people. Speaking about specs, it's a 72 volt nominal rating, but in EUC world, we call this an 84 volt wheel. It's technically a 72 volt 20 amp hour battery, so it's 1440 watt hours. A decent size, as we said earlier, goes up to 43.5 miles per hour. It's a 2500 watt rated motor with a peak output of 6000 watts.
This shell is made of this alloy, kind of this metal material, screwed in, and it's very flat, very featureless. This thing looks very space age, very futuristic.
So futuristic that it's the first one that we've had that has a design that points towards the ground. So there it is. You see that? It's almost like you're seeing on cars nowadays where it projects a little bit of a logo on the ground, and pretty cool stuff.
They've put a lot of bells and whistles into this. Things that you expect. Trolley handle that we've seen on many of the INMOTION wheels. You also have a kill switch, the metal alloy exterior mixed with some rubber and plastic components. On the top here, you'll see these little ports, and these presumably are for adjusting the suspension, just like in the V9.
I don't want to scratch this brand new wheel. Oh, it comes off. Oh, there is adjustment. So Jimmy was right. This is for a rebound adjustment, it looks like, slow and fast, and you can hear it clicking. So a little bit of adjustment. Luckily with this design though, it's not like the V9 where this piece of rubber can fall down a hole. You're just gonna keep pushing it down, so you're not gonna lose this piece of rubber. You wanna get something that kind of wedges from the side and lifts it out.
In the back of the wheel, you do have a nice little tail light, and you have the ports for charging. It comes with dual charge ports, so you can charge super fast. And then you also have USB-C and original USB for charging your peripherals.
Right next to the charge ports, you have speakers on both sides. You also have the ability to do a group ride sync with the audio, where we can actually pair this up with the V9 or any other wheel with that technology and can be playing the exact same tunes all at the same time. The speakers are dual hi-fi stereo speakers. And let's go ahead and test those out.
All right, so the sounds pretty darn good to me. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, it's surprisingly good.
We've talked about the flat featureless body, and on this side you can see we've stuck some pads. So very nice, very easy for you to apply your Velcro and to stick your pads. And then on the back we also have the kickstand, which is made of a harder plastic. I wish it did come with some rubber feet so that when you put it down it doesn't just clank so hard. And then you've got a little fender over the wheel.
And right by the fenders, you'll also see a light bar that goes all around the wheel, and it also is controllable. So you can control it through the app, you can control it on the display, so you can really customize it based off of your preferences.
And then when we move to the front, the light is also adjustable. If you're going down too many stairs, I find that sometimes lights are too loose and they'll jostle, they'll move around. This one has nice resistance where I feel like it's going to stay in place.
There's 4G technology inside of this wheel, so it's showing that we got 3 bars of service for 4G service. Allows you to connect to their IoT service, which they have branded Ride Connect, which allows you to track the device, track your rides, deactivate your device if it gets stolen. So lots of cool technology that they've been able to embed inside of these INMOTION wheels. So you can also lock it out. Go to lock it. We can see where the vehicle location is, so that is pretty cool. With the passcode, we'll go ahead and unlock it. And beep, there you go. So let's go ahead and do a no-load speed test and see how fast it can go. 57 miles, 58 I saw on there. And I'll try to do it slower. Oh, 57. So one thing that's interesting about this kill switch is if you let go of it halfway, it wants to come back up. If it goes down like just that much, rises back up by itself. Pretty cool technology. Moving down to the tire, this is a 16 by 3 inch tire, more of a hybrid design. As you can see, there's a flat patch in the middle and more off-road treks on the outside. Within the tire, you have a 2500 watt rated motor with a peak output of 6000 watts. This has a top speed of 43.5 miles per hour. They do say that you're gonna get about 75 miles of range. It's a very conservative number. Normally this is for a much lighter rider who's riding not super fast. For real world testing and me being heavier, I would probably presume I'm gonna get about 40 to 50 miles worth of range. But one cool thing about this is it is paired with the Raptor controller that they've used on previous devices. It's very safe, easy to install, and it also pumps out up to 300 amps of output to the motor. Under the shell, they are using Samsung 50S battery cells, which are some of the highest quality batteries, and they pair that with the smart BMS with a UL rating. One thing I'm noticing about the pedals is it doesn't look like there's any pedal height adjustment. And then we're about to put pads on here, and we did get confirmation from Albert Kua from INMOTION that the V12S should be coming with pre-cut Velcro and power pads.
All right, they certainly have packed in all the bells and whistles with this guy, but in the end, it's an electric unicycle and we get these to ride. So let's get our safety gear on and go take it for a ride. Okay, Andrew is on the INMOTION V9 that we recently reviewed. I'm on the V12S, and we're going to try this audio sync function. Connected the phone to my EUC, synced it with the other EUC, and now we have music going through both of these. It's pretty cool, and the music sounds pretty darn good.
Thought it was gonna be a little bit gimmicky, but it's actually pretty sweet.
This speaker on the V12S has more bass, it feels more rich than on the V9, but both sound really good. Audio sync, pretty impressive. I can see a bunch of EUC guys showing up to the beach or a park or a party and just syncing all their wheels and having a good time. All right, let's keep riding and let's talk more about this V12S. Something you guys don't know, Andrew's baby is coming. In fact, halfway through this review, we had to stop production because we thought the baby was coming. It was a false alarm, but it's any day now. So we gotta hurry because any minute now, his wife could be calling saying the baby's coming. So let's get going. A lot of these newer wheels are coming with water resistance ratings, official water resistance ratings. This one's an IPX6. And so Andrew, how's your backside? Get any water over there?
I don't know. No?
Nice. Oh, you got some on your butt though.
Did I get some on my butt? So.
Can you feel it?
Yep, I felt it now.
Your water broke.
Yep.
Before his wife's water breaks, we're gonna keep on with this review. Let's find somewhere where we can stop and talk about things that we love.
I was worried because stock out of the box, the suspension was making some weird noises. I was easily bottoming out, but once I adjusted the 2 settings on both sides, felt great.
Looking smooth.
Yeah, surprisingly, that felt better than I thought it was going to.
All right, let's talk about what we love about the INMOTION wheel.
For me, it's really all about the tech. No one else in the EUC space is putting as much tech as INMOTION is into their wheels. The fact that this has Ride Connect, you can track it with 4G technology, disable the wheel if it's stolen, track the wheel if it's stolen. The audio sync, the best speakers we've ever heard on an EUC. 256 different variations of lighting that you can adjust on the setting. Very refined with really high tech.
I love the little logo Easter egg that just shoots down onto the ground. You can have dual charging. It just feels really nice when you lift it up.
Yeah, so right here, we're at this height. Just automatically lifts up for you.
They've put in a lot of tech, a lot of bells and whistles, but they haven't ignored the ride feel. It's not the fastest wheel in the world. You're not going to take this to the races. This wheel is all about the comfort of the ride and the comfort that comes from having all the tech and all the bells and whistles.
And not only are they focused on tech, they're very focused on safety of the rider. From the UL rating to the IPX6 water resistance rating, the tubeless pneumatic tire. One thing I do love about this wheel is the tire tread. Very nice tire profile. This has a band in the center, which is flat, designed for street riding. And then you have a rounded profile with off-road treading that isn't completely straight, so you don't get railroad tracked. On top of that, you have the app, which has tons of features. A lot of these EUCs have an app, but they do half the things that the INMOTION app can do. And then on top of that, if you don't have your phone on you, the best part about the display is that you can navigate easily through all the menu options and read clearly without having to remember the codes or the acronyms. You can clearly read the words of what you're adjusting.
The INMOTION app is probably one of the best EUC apps on the market, and if you already have an INMOTION wheel, it's seamless with how it connects with all your devices.
One of the best parts about this wheel is it looks like it's from 2025.
And I would say it looks like a wheel from 2055, something you'd see in a science fiction movie.
What I'm very pleasantly surprised with is how much power it has for the voltage. I didn't expect this to have decent acceleration simply because it's an 84 volt wheel and we're dealing with wheels that are 151 volts, 164 volts, but this has great acceleration.
So this wheel not only has a ton of bells and whistles and a ton of tech, it also rides really well. It's not perfect though. We're going to keep riding. At our next stop, we're going to talk about the things that we don't like about the INMOTION V12S.
Surprisingly quiet when I come off of those. We'll show you the acceleration on this. Yeah, that got to 0 to 30 miles per hour very fast, and I did not expect that for an 84 volt wheel. Felt nice and steady. The only time that the wobbles crept in is when I went to go hard stop at about 33 miles per hour. That was pretty good.
Feel good? You look good.
Yeah, it was like 10 feet to stop from 20 miles per hour to 0. Man, that's like butter. And that's much improved from previous INMOTION wheels. The V14 was great, V13 did decent, but prior wheels like the V11 suspension, not great, especially going downstairs. You would hear a lot of boinging noises. As you could hear, that was very solid and no clanking at all when I went down those stairs.
That's your hill test right there.
So, one thing that's crazy is that hill with me weighing 200 pounds used to groan with an 84 volt wheel. So pair that with the 300 amp Raptor controller, makes a huge difference in power delivery.
All right, let's talk about the things where the V12S can improve.
For me, it's how this metal flexes when you go to rip off the pad. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap in there. And we haven't had any issues with the plate actually coming off of the wheel. I spoke with Albert at INMOTION and he says that he hasn't had any issues readjusting pads, but they do suggest that you use a pad scraper, which is kind of like a putty knife for drywall, to get the pads off cleanly without having to pull so hard from the Velcro. The one thing about this wheel is you do get a little bit of speed wobbles when you go to brake at higher speeds, but because it's not super heavy, it's not very hard to get back into control if you carve. You can adjust the hydraulic suspension. But one thing is about these caps, I don't love that there isn't some type of tab to pull them off easily. You have to have a screwdriver on you at all times to be able to pull this out if it's pushed down too far and to be able to adjust the suspension.
What INMOTION has done here with this design is they've made it really easy not to take them off because they're hard to take off. They've made it really easy to lose. And these things, you'll take them off, I can imagine I'll set them down somewhere and I'll never see it again.
The audio sync is a very awesome feature, but I would like for it to work a little bit farther than it does. So yes, it does cut out at about 10 yards, but you do start to hear it cut out at about 5 yards where it goes in and out of audio.
A lot of these little rubber parts, their edges will catch on your safety gear. The knee guards will catch on the different plastic edges. You can even see where it's torn out some fabric from our safety gear.
Yep, that's my shin and knee guard right there.
And then here you have these rubber edges for kind of these bumpers on the EUC, and they're not completely sealed. So I don't know if that's part of the design.
I went through that small puddle. It wasn't even that big. It was maybe like a ½ an inch to an inch. And the fender didn't protect my butt from getting wet. And this light is really cool. It's got 3 bright lights. But what I would have loved for them to do is to allow me to use 1, 2, or 3 lights rather than having to use 3 lights or no lights at all. The EUC pedals sit fairly high on the V12S, and I do feel like if they had the ability to adjust them lower, you wouldn't get as many speed wobbles when you're going at high speeds and do those hard stops.
This is not a racing machine. It's also not a long distance machine. You're not going to get this to go on marathon rides. It's not built for that.
Just on this ride right now, we've done 12 miles and it's already eaten up 33% of the battery. So in essence, this should get about 36 miles in range based off of that calculation.
The nice thing though is it has a fast charger. It comes with 2 charge ports. And so if you carry around your chargers, you'd be able to charge this up pretty quickly. I'm trying to figure out who this wheel is made for. We're gonna share that with you as we start riding home. Andrew, tell us about the seated riding.
I really like the height of the wheel. This bar in my butt doesn't feel the most comfortable, so I'm sure they're gonna design some type of seat to be on here, but overall, carve's really nice. Yeah, I really love the profile of this tire. Feels great, easy to get into the deep carves, and you're not getting that railroad track feeling that you get from a lot of tires out there on EUCs. Whoa. Whoa. That could have been crazy.
I did not see that bump.
No, I did not see that bump. And seated riding and hitting a big bump can be devastating if the suspension sucks. Luckily, the suspension on the V12S is pretty decent.
Yeah, so what happened back there is we hit a bump, unexpected. And the nice thing about suspension is it takes away some of that shock, that jolt.
Exactly.
If you don't have suspension, the chances of it throwing you into like a little wobble, death wobble, are high.
Yeah, I would have been bucked right off of this wheel if it didn't have suspension hitting that deep bump in there. So I did feel the first time it pushed back on me. I hit 39 miles per hour and it elevated the front a little bit, but wasn't too aggressive. And that's the one thing I do like about INMOTION wheels is they're very conservative, but they're not too aggressive when they push back the pedals on you.
Oh, you got big bushes coming up ahead. Oh, he plows through them. He doesn't care.
Man, what happened to our whole trek? We had this nice little trail here. What do you think of this on some light off-roading trails?
Light off-roading trails. It feels great. The suspension feels good. Plenty of power between my legs. I will say this wheel is a luxurious wheel. It's not fast. It doesn't go long range, but it just looks great. It looks futuristic. And it has so many cool features.
This wheel's making Jimmy feel frisky enough to hop this.
Woo! No baby call yet. Andrew is safe. So congratulate Andrew and his growing family and let us know, what do you think? Boy or girl in the comments. But let's answer the question, who should get this INMOTION V12S? I've been a big fan of a lot of the INMOTION wheels. The INMOTION V14 was one of my favorites. INMOTION V12 I really enjoyed. The V12S though is a different beast. This wheel is not a high-speed wheel. It's not a commuter wheel. It's kind of a mid-range wheel that's been packed with a bunch of tech and a bunch of bells and whistles. And so if you like speeds of up to 40 miles an hour that has all the luxuries and accommodations and accoutrements to make your riding experience next level, then check out the V12S. Our full written review is on freshlycharged.com, and remember, when you ride, wear your safety gear.